Every year, people say Bigfoot is fading out into myth, and every year the sightings increase. This year wasn't about proof, it was about patterns. Tonight, we're breaking down what actually stood out in Bigfoot research this year and why it still matters. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about 10 key points of Bigfoot. Number one, Bigfoot sightings near waterways. Number two, Texas Bigfoot becoming a hotspot. Number three, trail cam controversy, real, fake, or AI. Number four, Bigfoot audio evidence gaining credibility. Number five, Bigfoots and UFO/UAP connections. Number six, Bigfoot as a relic hominid, still possible? Question mark. Number seven, mimicry and vocal intimidation reports. Number eight, national park disappearance and Bigfoot theories. Number nine, why Bigfoot still hasn't been proven in 2025. Number 10, what Bigfoot research taught us this year. All right, so let's get into this. All right, so Bigfoot sightings near waterways. Now, recently, I've had a ton of people come to me and say, Matt, we were out fishing and we heard something walking, something big. And then we heard tree knocks, and then they kept coming closer and closer to the point where we got freaked out and ran. And this is along the Brazos River. I know a lot of people that fish along the Brazos River, and almost every one of them has had some kind of strange experience. Going back to old reports along the Brazos and other locations here in Texas, unless it's East Texas, I'm talking about Central Texas right now. The reports have never been. There used to be a lot of reports before people really started settling in these areas, and then those reports kind of dwindled down through the 70s, 80s, and 90s. In the 2000s, I've realized that, and especially in the late 2000s, probably the 15, 16, all the way through current, there are more and more Bigfoot reports coming in off of waterways here in Texas. You got the, by where Joe lives, the Sabine National Forest. You've got the lakes over there. You've got the rivers over there. You've got the Red River up north. You got all these rivers. So up north, you got the Lake Worth monster, and that's been cited a lot more now. That was cited back in the 70s, again, having to do with people going fishing on the river and stuff like that. Now people live along that river, and a lot more people live along that river, and they're having more experiences with a possible Bigfoot or dog man or ram man like creature, right? All along the Brazos River, people are reporting things. Even over into San Antonio, people are reporting Bigfoot sightings along rivers. Most of the time when people go down to fish. People here in Texas, the Texas area is more, it's a little bit more rural. Up in this area, there's a lot of smaller towns, a lot of smaller cities. A lot of people still live the way they did back in the 60s and 70s. There's actually people here in Texas that don't have power or running water, believe it or not. It's kind of crazy. So anyways, so there's been a lot of increased possible sightings along waterways. Bigfoots, in my opinion, use this to travel as corridors. It's a great way to have cover. A lot of animals come down into that area. They've supposedly look for freshwater clams and stuff like that. Deer, you got all kinds of food sources that are coming down into these areas, and then fish and whatever else is in the river or the creeks or whatever they're going to get food. Also to drink water. And as people kind of come more into these areas that they haven't been into for a while or haven't been into at all, maybe that's why there's more sightings and experiences where they're basically kind of going into Bigfoot's territory that they hadn't been into before. And so the Bigfoots are reacting and saying, hey, this is my area. Y'all need to get out, right? So, these similar patterns are also seen in the Pacific Northwest, the Appalachian Mountains, the Texas river bottoms now are becoming more and more paranormal hotspots for Bigfoots. Fishing, and like I said before, fishermen and actually hunters are now experiencing more Bigfoot sightings. A lot of people ask me, well, how come no hunters ever shot one? Well, number one, who's to say they haven't shot one? Big Brother doesn't like it when you kill their Bigfoots. So essentially, from what I've been told, number one, when people look into the scope and they look at the face of a Bigfoot, it looks too human, and so they don't shoot it. They just can't pull the trigger. Number two, a lot of the time these hunters are freaked out and scared by what they see. Imagine, 10-foot gorilla walking out of the woods, walking over to your deer that you just shot, picking it up, throwing it over its shoulder like it's nothing, and then walking off with your deer. I mean, what would you do? Would you want that thing coming after you if you took a shot at it? Unless you shot it possibly in the head or shot it where you think its heart was, you probably wouldn't put it down. And these things are damn fast. I mean, they can cover quite a bit of ground. By the time you got your gun back up and reloaded, it would probably be on you. And so a lot of these guys, and Bigfoots they're usually not alone. They usually are pack animals, believe it or not. Just because you don't see one, there's usually multiples. I mean, I've seen so many people send me pictures or put them on Facebook or social media and say, hey, look, I got a Bigfoot. And I'm looking around, I'm going, okay, that's a really cool pic. But you missed the other two or three that are in the picture. They're hiding behind trees, kind of peeking out. And unless you know what you're looking for, you don't see it. And once you point it out to them, they go, oh yeah, there's more than one. So yeah, if you ever see a Bigfoot come out of the woods, just know it's probably not alone. All right. So, basically, if you wanted to stay hidden, wouldn't that be the perfect place for you? I mean, how many people come down there, especially at nighttime? How many people walk along the waterways or whatever? And it's pitch black out here most of the time. I mean, Amanda and I were driving up the highway the other night, and it looked like we were driving through a freaking tunnel. It was that dark, even with our high beams on. All right, so Texas again becomes a hot spot. Texas the reports have been just upping, mainly because there's been a lot more people coming to Texas recently, and they're building more down by these waterways and stuff. They're they're clearing forests that they hadn't cleared before. Texas, if you cut Texas in half, if you're not from Texas or the United States or whatever, if you looked at Texas on a map and cut it down the middle, the east side would be pretty much mainly forest, and the west side is mainly, as you go further west, it stays kind of foresty, but it's not like super forested, and then basically goes to desert as you go west. But the further east you go, the more thick, dense forest you get. I mean, it's really forested out here. I mean, our area is very forested too. So unless you get up high, you don't realize how forested it is. If you look at our area, the Brazos area, and you basically zoom out and you look at our little city, surrounded by our city is forest. It's all forest. And then the further east, of course, the further east you go, the more forest it gets. So it's just really interesting. You got the east piney forest. You got the Brazos Valley that has a lot of rural sightings. A lot of people out here don't report seeing them. A lot of people still have farms out here, and they're missing chickens, they're missing goats, they're missing pigs, and I've even heard that cows are being attacked. That'd have to be a damn big Bigfoot for something to attack a cow. That's a 500-600 pound animal or bigger, and they have horns out here. They've got those huge horns. Some of them have these huge horns. Imagine trying to take one of those big bulls down. They're aggressive. And so imagine, trying to take that down. I mean, it'd be like fighting with a small elk. And you'd have to be massive and strong to possibly break the neck or whatever you would have to do to kill that thing. So, like I said, there's why Texas works. So there's dense cover low population zones, and there's a lot of damn wildlife out here. Deer everywhere, especially right now as they do construction. They're moving around, and maybe the Bigfoots are moving with them. There's also reports of Dogman. I mean, I forget who it was, but they were talking about the Texas Triangle, and that's scary as hell to have a Dogman encounter out here. Dogman are supposedly way more aggressive than Bigfoot. I believe I've had a Dogman encounter or multiple Dogman encounters. I've actually just never actually seen one close enough to tell it wasn't a Bigfoot. I know that we have them in our area over here by the Lake Bryan area, and possibly in our back forest behind us. Again, we are investigating. We will be investigating the back forest here starting next year. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the old reports now where you have old clusters, and you guys have seen me do the maps where I go into the maps and I show you different spots where possible Bigfoots could be. Now I'm starting to look closer to home. Those reports were mainly East Texas. And as I come into Central Texas, we're looking at a lot of the older reports, but there's a lot of new reports too, especially up by Fort Worth in the Dallas area. And again, a lot of people don't realize how forested that area is. And then coming down towards us, going south of Dallas into the areas down south, even into the Browse Yard, even to Houston, now is starting to have a lot more reports of Bigfoot activity. But they've cut into all those woods. They're expanding out into the woods where the woods used to be. So yeah, it does not surprise me that there's so many more reports of Bigfoot right now in Texas. We're encroaching in on their territory, and they're probably having to move and find other ways around. And of course, as more fishermen and people go down to hunt by the waterways, it does not surprise me at all that they're having more Bigfoot sightings. Could there be a bigger migration coming this way? Has the Bigfoot population grown here in Texas? More than likely. And the fact is that they're as these juveniles kind of figure out how to avoid people and have to create new ways to get around, they're being seen more. All right, speaking of being seen, let's talk about trail camera controversy. Are they real? Are they fake? Are they AI? If you're on social media and you follow any Bigfoot groups or paranormal groups, or you just have friends that are into the paranormal, or you've friended people that are into the paranormal, you're probably seeing a lot of trail cam photos recently. The problem with AI is that it's getting better and better and better at creating pictures and video that look real. And it's getting really hard to tell the difference between what's real and what's not. Not just with Bigfoot and stuff, but with anything paranormal or, out there. I mean, people are putting up crazy videos that look extremely real that are fooling people. And it's really hard to tell that it isn't real. You know what I mean? So a lot of the old trail cam people are starting to release old trail cam photos too. I mean, I have a couple where we've got Bigfoots on trail cams, and people go, "Oh, well, doesn't anybody ever get a picture of a Bigfoot on a trail cam?" Well, they have. They just don't release it. They don't put it out there, and especially the good ones. Mainly probably because when you start to show that you're having a lot of Bigfoot activity in your area, on your farm, in the forest that you hunt in, or whatever, Big Brother doesn't like that too much. And they come in and they close down that portion of the forest. Or they basically come in and do clear cutting. Or they'll come in and they'll do controlled burns in that area. I remember Joe telling me that after we had been investigating an area over by the lake by his house, that all of a sudden, like a week or two later, and we had a lot of weird sightings. We found that structure. We found that huge, fish head that had been eaten into, like teeth literally scraped into it. Those huge footprints, 26-inch footprints in between the, it was so heavy, it had gone into like the mulch of the forest, if you will, all the deadfall. and it left the trail, 1 foot after another. And I think the stride was like 8 feet wide. It was huge. Whatever that was had to be massive. That had walked up there, had some structures. It looked kind of human, but not. There was no, like, it wasn't fully enclosed. It was just like a weird shelter, almost like a lean-to. And then there was another one down the way where Bigfoot possibly was bedding down. And that was it was in a concealed area. And there was a lot of just heavy brush all the way around, but in the middle of it, it was all cleared out. And it was a good area. And then there was all those weird, it was like a dome made out of trees, where the trees, I don't know how high up, 30, 40 feet up, had been like bent in like this, not like bent down like a normal tree bend, but the tops of them had bent it in like this and made it like a dome. It was the weirdest looking thing. And the only thing I can think of is those trees have been bent a long time ago and then continue to grow up, and they grew into like a dome-like structure. And there was probably 7 or 8 trees. It was the weirdest thing. Anyways, let me get back into trail cam. So, yeah, I mean, the problem with that is that people don't like to post their really good photos because it brings attention to them. And a lot of people, especially out here in Texas, I don't know about other states right now, but a lot of people, like even when I went to Black Star Canyon, the people that actually used to live up there didn't want any attention. They didn't want people around. They wanted to be secluded. And that's why a lot of people are out here. They want to be secluded. They're out in the forest or out in the boonies for a reason. They don't want a lot of attention. They're not looking for people to come into their area. They don't want Bigfoot researchers on their property until the point where they're so scared that they have to actually call somebody and have somebody come out and take a look and prove that, that they're not just imagining things. A lot of these people have owned these properties for years and years and years, and they have trap cams up to basically look for deer, and then they get something else. And number one, a lot of people out here, they're not technically advanced like, I am or you are, or whoever's watching this. They don't have, super smart cell phones, or if they do, they don't know how to work things. Some people don't know how to email things. They aren't on social media, or if they are, they don't post very often. And if they do, they're very careful about what they post. Or they don't have a lot of friends. They have their neighbors or whatever on there. There's a lot of reasons that these pictures don't come out a lot. So I think there's quite a few, not all pictures that come on these trail cams are real, especially now. If they're coming out now in the 2000s, like the 2024, 2025, 2026 time period, you really have to take a look at those pictures or videos really, really well and really analyze them, because they possibly could be AI. And it's really sad that people are poisoning, the Bigfoot community with these fake photos or videos just to get attention and get likes and get, all that other attention that they're getting when those aren't real. And then people find out, oh, well, they're fake. And then it makes us look bad. And the people that are really trying to prove that Bigfoot does exist, it makes us all look bad. But like I said, you have to take a really good look at things. You have to really make up your own mind if it's real or not. Don't just jump on the bandwagon. Oh my gosh, somebody got a Bigfoot video or picture. You really have to look at it. Do your research. Really know, really take your time and make up your own mind. Don't let anybody else influence you on whether or not something's real, whether it's our picture, our video, or somebody else's. Really take your time and look at it. A lot of people used to get blurry photos. Mainly, it's the reason people got blurry photos is because the trail cams back in the day, my first trail cam was a 5 megapixel camera. They took a picture every minute, not every second, every minute. And that was the very first pictures I ever got of a Bigfoot was on a trail cam. And that camera only took a picture every minute. So there was definitely a bunch of missing information in those pictures. The video, unfortunately, won't play because it's too old. The technology these days, won't upload that. The new computers and stuff, they won't. They have a certain standard that they won't breach. So trying to get that video to post on anything now is really difficult if it's not more than about 8 or 9 megapixels. But today's cameras, I mean, they're so much better. I mean, our cameras are 4K now. We've almost all moved up to 4K. The video you're watching, if you're watching this on either Facebook or our YouTube channel or Rumble channel, you're watching through 4K. And a lot of our gear now, we've just got a whole crap nut bunch of it to start off 26 with, is all now 4K. And so we're really upping our game as far as video quality goes. But that's the problem, is a lot of the times those old blurry pictures, it's not because it's moving or whatever. It's just because those cameras are older and they're not getting a very good picture. Anything from about 2020 and back, those pictures are not nearly as good as what we have from 2020 to 2025. Even cell phones, the cameras are much better now. They're using not just one lens, not just two lenses, but some cell phones have 3 cameras to focus in and try and get the details and then put all that into one big picture. And that really helps. I think as technology gets better, we'll have better chances for better pictures to come out on trail cams, and we won't have these and cell phones, and we won't have these blurry photos. The other thing is that the cameras weren't meant to take pictures more than about 5 to 10 feet away. They were made for selfies and stuff like that. And the amount of pixelation that happens when you get past about 10 feet is just greater. And if you don't know what pixelation means, every time you take a picture, the camera has, depending on what size of lens you have and what your megapixels are. Megapixels are just the amount of squares that come in a photo. Each photo has, let's just say 5 megapixels. We have about 5,000 little squares that all get put together to make one big picture. And as you go up, that means the little squares are huge, right? So then basically as you're trying to focus in on those, the squares just blur out. That's why it gets blurry. So the more megapixels you have, the more you can zoom in on something and the clearer the photo still is. Because basically a picture is actually just a bunch of little pictures all put together into one big picture. And that's why things get blurry, and video too. But as cameras get better, I think we're going to get better evidence. The only scary thing is that AI knows how to make really good, realistic looking video and pictures now. So we have to watch for that. Okay, so let's get on to audio evidence. Bigfoot audio evidence is definitely gaining credibility. There's an increasing record amount of howls, knocks, and vocalizations. As people now get back out into the forest, there's more people doing Bigfoot research. More people are camping now. More people are going into areas that are a little bit more remote than they would have gone into before. As we expand into forests, into places we haven't been before, we're getting a little closer to possibly Bigfoot's, living room, as I always say. And Bigfoots don't always like that. I mean, people are moving into more remote areas of the country, places they haven't been forever. I also think that a lot of people that live in these more remote places, as they are learning the new technologies and using them, they might have been experiencing all this before. The howls, the screams, the tree knocks, the, mud clots being thrown at their house, and maybe things trying to come and get into their house or scare them out of there. Whatever they're doing, throwing logs and other things, rocks at them, at their homes and stuff, or throwing them at their tents or whatever. And again, as technology gets better, we're better able to capture this. These cell phones are way better at capturing audio than almost any audio recorder out there. They're made to pick up sound. They're really made to do that. That's why I like to use my phone as an audio recorder sometimes, because what do I do into that phone? I talk into that, right? And that phone is made to pick up my voice. Well, it also picks up other things. It picks up all levels of audio, a lot of different levels of audio. One of these days, we'll have to break that down. We'll have to have an expert, a cell phone expert, come on here and talk to us about the different levels of volume that a cell phone can pick up, and an audio recorder too, maybe, and compare the difference between them. And anyways, so yeah, it's getting harder and harder to fake the audio evidence, because people can go through now and they can listen to the decibels and they can break it down on a computer and they can see whether I, as a human, made that noise or whether it's some kind of unknown animal out there that possibly is doing that, whether it's a Bigfoot or a dogman or some other unknown thing. They're able to go on there and they're able to break it down. Okay, this is the normal human level of screams. If I took the Amanda and I had her go out there and scream her bloody head off, right? And we recorded it, and then I got this really crazy response. I could basically put that on my WavePad editor, and I could see how loud she actually screamed, and then I could also see how much louder and scarier and this other howl was, and that it could be made by humans and stuff like that. I mean, scientists are even now starting to look into these screams, and going, no, this is beyond human range and stuff like that. So it's just really cool. I mean, you got the Sierra sounds, and now people are starting to pick up other noises, other screams that sound just like this. Tree knocks is possible communication. I figured out that they do a certain amount of tree knocks, or at least up at Joe's camp, basically to locate each other. It's almost like a whale screams out to basically echolocate things. I think they use the tree knocks to figure out where each other are. Like I said, they do run in family groups. Just because you see one Bigfoot over here doesn't mean there's not another one 100 feet away or 200 feet away or a quarter of a mile away or whatever. There's been a lot of reports of them hunting together, and they'll have some in front. It's almost like they make a giant square. They have some in front, and then they have some in the sides, and they have some in back. And what happens is the ones in back make a crap ton of noise to scare deer or whatever animals out into maybe a clearing or an area where they can ambush them. And then the ones on the side basically keep those animals from escaping out. And then the ones at the end are there to like grab them or do whatever. I mean, there's been reports of them breaking, their legs off deer and stuff like that. So are they using the sound to basically the tree knocks to scare animals, while they're hunting? Are they using it to essentially, like one tree knock at Joe's camp was, you'd hear a tree knock over here, then you hear a tree knock here, and then you hear a tree knock here, and then you might hear one behind you, and then one over there, and you'd hear like 5 or 6 of them, and they were all different places. It was almost like they were checking in with each other. Hey, I'm over here, 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 and to let each other know where they were. I think 2 was kind of like, hey, I'm coming, where are you? 1 was, I'm here, or just checking in. 2 is, where are you? 3 was, I think, like a warning. Of course, the females make the whoops and stuff like that. But the more audio clips we get, the more evidence is being broken down by people, experts and stuff, where actually the Bigfoot researchers that are capturing this stuff are able to get this to scientists and have them analyze it, or people that know how to really look at audio are taking a look at this audio evidence and going, this couldn't be man-made, and it's not being made by AI, because AI doesn't know how to use this yet. A lot of people haven't figured it out, and I probably shouldn't say this. A lot of people haven't started using AI to create this yet, thank God. But yeah, so yeah, that's an interesting audio is just interesting. I mean, it's becoming stronger and stronger um, evidence to show that there's actually something else out there that is unknown. All right, so let's talk about the Bigfoot and UFO slash UAP connections. One thing that I've noticed, and I don't usually talk about this, but when I drop pins in areas for clusters, I'm looking for clusters for Bigfoot sightings. But when I've gone back to some of the clusters, I've noticed, wait a minute, okay, you got hauntings in this area, you got UFO reports, and you got Bigfoot reports, and sometimes even Dogman reports. So those four are coinciding. It's like, why are there so many Dogman, Bigfoot, UFO, and haunting reports all in the same area? What's going on here? That's considered like a paranormal hotspot. Where I live in the Brazos Yard Valley is starting to turn into that. I'm starting to see like there's all of these different things all at the same area. Like Madisonville is a hot spot. Over here at Lake Bryan, which is only just like a half a mile away from me, is now the hot spot. There's UFO sightings, there's Dogman sightings, there's Bigfoot sightings, and then you have downtown Bryan, which is heavily haunted. And then now I'm hearing, Highway 21 is haunted, and then Sandy Point Road over there. People are seeing ghosts on that road. There's also a lot of deer over there and stuff like that. And you've got the lake. So it's like, okay. And then you also have the power plant over there. We've got a steam plant over there. And so I'm starting to look at this and going, wait a minute, why are there so many reports of, Bigfoot and everything in this area? Does it have, and there's orb reports? I've started seeing on my back camera orbs. And when we start doing our show here, beginning next year, I will sit down and present all this to you guys in on our YouTube or Rumble or Facebook or whatever platform we're gonna put it on. You'll see that we've had weird, strange things with possible Bigfoots or Dogman. We've had eye shine. We've had UFO reports around our area. And then now we're having weird orbs, like orbs that are just appearing on camera, appearing and disappearing. And there's no light there. So I don't really believe that a Bigfoot is going through portals. I don't really believe that they're disappearing, coming out of trees and then going back through trees and using them as portals. But the more I research this, the crazier things are getting, the more I'm scratching my head and going, wait a minute, are Bigfoots coming off of UFOs? I don't think so. I think honestly that Bigfoots are possibly getting abducted as well. If you remember hearing Laura talk about seeing a Bigfoot on a UFO, that was strange to me, but it isn't beyond possibility. What if they're, basically abducting Bigfoots too? A lot of people, when they get into Bigfoot areas now, they're seeing strange lights, and then they're having like weird, like headaches, like pressure in their ears and stuff like that. And then they're seeing strange lights in the sky, and then they're having Bigfoot sightings. And usually the Bigfoot's like running away from whatever these lights are. So who's to say that Bigfoots aren't, being abducted by UFOs as well? I mean, it's just another theory. It's just another possibility. And Bigfoots basically are floating, and basically people are saying that Bigfoots are possibly, other interdimensional beings. That also could be true. I can't say it is or isn't. I can't say it is or isn't to any of this yet. But the fact that an orb appears and then it floats around through the forest, and all of a sudden then people have a Bigfoot sighting. I mean, that's kind of strange. Could that just be swap gas? Could that be a spirit or ghost? Could that be something else altogether? And portals are opening up, and they're seeing Bigfoots go in and out of these portals. I don't know. There's a lot of traction with the Bigfoots are interdimensional beings. I know a lot of people are starting to believe that. They're guarding something. They're basically guarding the portals. The Bigfoots are guarding portals. It's just, there's a lot of theory right now, and it's just getting really crazy with the ideas. You guys really got to, like I always say, you really have to take a look at the evidence and come up with your own theories or have your own opinion on what things are or aren't. Again, you got to watch for AI, because AI is now playing a bigger role in what looks real and what doesn't. Okay. So another theory about Bigfoot is it's a relic hominid. And that is still possible. Gigantopithecus, I was watching a special on Gigantopithecus the other day, and it went really into depth. The first story I ever heard was they based Bigfoot off of, or Gigantopithecus off of a theory that off of just a tooth, but there's actually more to it. They actually found the bottom jaw of what looks like a Gigantopithecus, and it's massive. It's much, much bigger than a human. It's shaped like a human's, and they actually found a tooth still in one of the actual jaw, and it's flat. It actually looks like one of the teeth I have. I'm gonna have a friend of mine take a look at it who has cattle and see it, just to make sure it's not an actual tooth of a cow. But if it isn't, and I can stump him, then maybe there's something more to it. I've been trying to ask several different scientists around to take a look at it for me. I've sent them pictures and I've not heard anything back. And it has me scratching my head. Why aren't they responding? Are they just ignoring me? Do they not have time to look at it? Do they just think it's just funny? Or is it something real and they're just stunned and they can't respond? So there's definitely a possibility that Gigantopithecus moved across the land bridge. If you don't know where Russia is and where the United States is, where Alaska is, there's a little island in between the two. They're only like a mile. Where Russia and Alaska are is only like a mile or something apart from each other, and in the middle there's an island. And so essentially that area all used to be land, and you could walk from one place to another. In fact, when it freezes over, supposedly you can still walk to that island, and stuff like that. And sometimes if it really freezes, you can actually walk all the way across to Russia. Supposedly, someone was telling me. Anyways, who's to say that Gigantopithecus, as the climate changed, didn't move further across the plains? Remember, Alaska didn't used to always be covered in ice, and sometimes it isn't. Maybe they got there and said, "Oh, this is too cold for us," and they kept moving. And who's to say they didn't move? Didn't populate that area, and then move down into Northern California, into those areas that were a little warmer for them, or even stay up in the Canadian area. Who's to say they don't know how to stay warm in that freezing cold? There's reports of Bigfoot-like creatures all over the world. In fact, a friend of mine just posted on Facebook that of all the animals known in the world, humans only know about 20% of what basically could be out there. I thought that article was really interesting. So, I mean, people always ask us, why hasn't anybody found any bones? Well, they have. Even scientists are finding bones in Argentina and stuff like that of giants. And the governments are coming in and seizing everything. They're closing the area down, they're pulling their permits, and they're seizing the bones. And then when they're finally able to get back into this area, it's all gone. They've completely excavated the area. All remnants of whatever was left there, the bones and everything, are gone. So who's to say that these bones are not there? We just don't know. I don't think we really know how to look for them. People say the upside down trees are where they're buried, or these structures are where they're buried. We found that giant, I don't know if it's hair or not. If it is, it's an amazing find, where a Bigfoot possibly died. We didn't see any bones, but there was hair everywhere. And so we started picking up these huge clumps of hair, and we had a giant like paper grocery bag full of it. And there was a lot more. We just didn't pick it all up. Now I have to take a look at this because it's now been about a year. I specifically waited because if it's a plant matter, it should be all shriveled up and dead. If it's a hair sample, then it will still be here. And I will pull that out for you guys on a regular video, not a podcast video. And we'll take a look at it. We'll put it under, if it actually is hair samples, we'll put it under the microscope and maybe I'll send some of that out. But, who's to say that they don't bury their dead? There's theories out there that they actually eat their dead, which is gross, but maybe they do that. So basically, science basically just dismisses all this for some reason. They don't even look into it. They look at you and go, oh, okay, whatever, yeah, thanks. There's very few scientists that will take a look at what you have, hair samples, DNA samples, anything like that, and will actually take a real look at it. Most of the time, they don't even get back to you. So anyways, there's a theory that they could possibly be some kind of humanoid or Gigantopithecus, or who's to say Gigantopithecus didn't mate with humans and create another breed of human or whatever, some kind of crossbreed, or maybe there's some other kind of animal out there. So people are reporting mimicry and vocal intimidation. So people basically are hearing, like I told you that story about that farmer whose wife went into town. He lived out in the middle of the forest. He had a farm out there, was basically out checking on his crops one day next to the forest. His crops were kind of in the middle, the forest is out here. And he started hearing his wife calling his name. Well, he knew his wife and daughter had just gotten into the car and left to go into town to go shopping, right? And so he kept hearing this. And so he walked closer and closer, calling out her name, and it kept responding to him. And then he basically got scared and went back towards the house, and something came walking out of the woods. And it was giant, like a giant ape-like creature that came out of the woods that was mimicking his wife's voice. Excuse me. So there are reports that Bigfoots can do vocals. They can talk. Have you ever seen Harry the Hendersons where he says George or something at the end? They can copy human speech. It's common among hunters. They hear like human-like voices. Sometimes when you're out in the forest, you'll hear like singing or whatever. Basically, I don't know if it's. I think some of it might be to try and get you to get closer. If they do actually eat people, or they do take people, which I don't know. I mean, there's a very good chance that they could. If they're hungry enough, maybe they can't find prey. Maybe they're injured. Maybe they just want to, scare you out of there. But they can mimic animals. I've heard them mimic birds and stuff like that, and I can't prove that to you, but I've heard strange bird-like calls that didn't sound like birds that my friend who is a hunter goes, that's strange. That's really strange. That's not normal. But anyways, there's possibility that they could be possibly mimicking humans. Like come into people's doors in the middle of the woods, knocking on doors or learning how to open door handles. There's a lot of videos now of people, especially in the Ozarks, that are having them come into their homes, and when the home security cameras are catching them on camera, a lot of them basically are not reporting it, but they're experiencing more close encounters with Bigfoots, and they're actually coming into the houses, walking around, looking around, and then leaving. Maybe they're just curious. Maybe they're trying to get out of the weather. Who knows? But they're able to talk like humans. And I've heard this for years. But they do mimic different humans, and also they can mimic other animals in the forest. And I can't prove that to you, but that's just things I've experienced and stuff like that. And other people have told me they've heard them talking and stuff like that. So Again, you got to make up your own mind on that one. National parks, disappearances, and Bigfoot theories. So there's a lot of people that go missing in the wilderness areas in the national parks. There's a lot of sudden vanishings, items that are found, no tracks. A lot of people are reporting to this day that they're finding Bigfoot tracks and they're walking out into the middle of somewhere where they should leave prints, and then the prints just all of a sudden disappear. Again, we talked about the portals. Are they just disappearing into portals? How are they not leaving tracks? You got a 500-600 pound animal walking through the middle of snow, or walking through down the right by the river bottoms where it's muddy, and they're leaving footprints all the way to the point where all of a sudden they don't leave a footprint, and they should be more prints. It's just strange. We've discussed the 411 missing people before. They think that Bigfoots are possibly taking people. There's a lot of theory that Bigfoots take females and take them back and use them to breed. Again, my theory of crossbreeding, where they're crossbreeding with humans and stuff like that, could explain why people are seeing more human-like looking Bigfoots out there, or they don't look so primate-ish. Could they have, basically mated with ancient humans? Again, I think they probably did. I think there's different species of Bigfoot. Every Bigfoot I've ever seen, they all look different. Some look more ape-like, some look more human-like, and that can tell you why the reports vary so much sometimes. Somebody says it looks completely like a human, and other people say it looks more like an ape. Who knows? I think a lot of these missing hikers that are happening are basically people just wandering off the trails, getting lost, and not leaving tracks or whatever, and they're just dying. I imagine the bones from a human would disappear in like a week or two. You wouldn't be able to find any trace of them, especially out in these wildernesses where it's really raw, and animals basically are always looking for food. Scattering bones would be easy and stuff like that. There's theories that Bigfoots are taking them and killing them. I think if anything's taking people in the woods, it probably more or less is Dogman that would be taking people. I've heard reports that the government created these things and has used them in wartime periods, and then basically takes them back and drops them off in national forests, and basically monitors them. And anytime anybody does anything to them, they show up and basically, shame that person and give them a hard time. So, anyways, I don't want to get too descriptive. So, it's up to, again, this is all up to your guys' judgment and stuff like that. But people are asking why Bigfoot still isn't proven in 2025. Well, I mean, it's the ultimate skeptic argument. Why aren't bodies found? Why is evidence not always? Why evidence doesn't always work? Is it the government basically covering stuff up? Could Bigfoots be intentionally avoiding us? I would. If I was a Bigfoot, I would totally avoid people. I would come in and check out what they're doing. I might steal some of their food or whatever, but I would definitely make sure I didn't leave my presence or make my presence known. Because the more people that know about them, the more chances they're going to get hurt or killed, and or humans too. I don't think Bigfoots purposely create human contact unless they absolutely need us, and they feel like it's safe. I think they observe us for quite a long time. I think the people that have been going into research areas for a long period of time, they've maybe done the calls and the howls. I think we are being observed. I think they watch us. I think they watch to see what we do and how we react to them reacting to us. And if we're not confrontational and we don't try and hurt them, or we don't run out chasing them or spotlighting them or whatever we're doing, I think that they kind of get to know us a little bit. And I think they're watching us way more than we think they are. And I think as we gift, and if you don't know what gifting is, it's basically just taking an item out, putting it somewhere without a camera present, and letting them come in and maybe pick up the item and leave you a gift as well, something they've made or found or whatever. It can be anything from, you can leave anything from marbles to food items to, like, people leave crosses and other things, and they come back to find like a skull, or they find a really interesting rock, or something's made like out of wood. They've, out of twigs, they've made a cross for them, and they've, basically done all kinds of cool things. There's all kinds of cool things that are found. You just never know what you're going to find when you come back to a gifting area. So they do appreciate that, I believe. And it depends on the Bigfoot's personality. I believe every Bigfoot has a different personality. Some are really chill, and some are way more aggressive. I think that they, as a society, we're the same way. I think their societies are a lot like ours. I think they have people, Bigfoots that live in a society, that are good with each other, that coexist. And I think there are Bigfoots that they kick out that are probably more aggressive and stuff like that. And I think that's when people have more aggressive encounters. I think that's part of what's going on. You're coming across a Bigfoot that got kicked out of a group that is more aggressive, that is more, possessive of an area and is defending an area. So, like I said, I think the government's really involved in Bigfoot activity. I know they have special groups to go out and hunt them, especially if they become too seen or too interactive. They don't want people knowing that there are things in the woods with them. Let's just put it that way, especially in national parks and stuff. They don't want you to know that that's there. You think the park rangers are going to tell you there's actually a Bigfoot living on the property? I don't think so. They're not going to tell you that. Anyways, I believe a lot of what's going on with the reason Bigfoot isn't really still proven is that a lot of people get bullied when they come up with good evidence, and science is essentially still being told, do not let them know that this is real, even though they probably have archives of all kinds of stuff that we've never seen. I bet you anything. If we could break into the National Archives and really find evidence, we'd probably go, oh my gosh, it would be overwhelming the amount of evidence we'd find, not just for Bigfoots, but other things that we don't know about, right? So lastly, what Bigfoot research has taught us over the years. There's been a lot of patterns. These things tend to follow patterns. They're like us. They have habits. Like, we get up in the morning, we grab our coffee, we make our breakfast, we go sit, watch TV, whatever, before we go to work. And then we go to work, and then we come home and we do our thing. Well, I think they have similar habits. I think they occupy certain areas, and I think that they migrate around different areas, and I think they come back to the same areas. If you look at old hotspots, there's always new reports. Maybe it's not consecutive. Maybe it's not 1 year after another, but you might have one in 2010, and then one in 2012, and then one in 2015, and maybe there's another sighting in that area until 2022. So, but I do think they occupy and come back to the same areas. Maybe people just aren't in that area. A lot of that's what a lot of the activity is. A lot of the time, people don't go into these areas. And when they're out exploring, hiking for the day, or going out fishing or whatever, now all of a sudden they have a sighting. You can start to look around where these people had sightings, and these pins keep dropping in the same areas. I mean, I find clusters, and I think that these family groups live in these clusters, and as people kind of come into these areas, they pull back a little bit from these areas, but they don't really leave, or they stay more hidden. They're more aware of, hey, there's people coming into the area, I need to be a little quieter. I think that There's a lot more credible witnesses coming forward, a lot more police officers and park rangers and government officials have actually started coming out and saying, yes, I've had an sighting. This happened 20 years ago, but I had a sighting, and they won't go back into the area where they've had the sighting. And we're getting more, like I said, we're getting more and more credible witnesses. With technology, we're getting better videos and audio clips of these things, these events that are happening, with people having, especially out in the woods, having security cameras and trail cams up around in these territories that haven't had these things before. We're getting more glimpses of possible Bigfoots and other, cryptids. But basically, I think technology is both helping and hurting the research. I think that technology is, because of AI and people being able to fake stuff, that really hurts us, because just when we think we get a good piece of evidence out there, all of a sudden somebody says, oh, well, that's fake, or proves it to be fake. And it's like, dang it, there's a step back, right? And then you get another good piece of evidence and people go, oh, well, that's fake. They don't even think about it. They just go, oh, yeah, that's fake. But that's actually a real piece of evidence. So again, we really have to be careful what we put out to make sure that we're getting real credible stuff out there. And we really need to get science involved more and more with what's going on to really prove that these things exist or don't exist. So anyways, Bigfoot's basically not going away. I think it's going to continue to get more and more popular, whether it's physical or paranormal or just unknown. Something is happening out there. I encourage listeners to come forward with their stories, not just to me, but other people. Don't be afraid to talk about your experiences. Don't be afraid to share your evidence, because it just helps our field. So we're basically going to be investigating a lot of stuff in the Brazos Valley this coming year, especially back there. Might put some trail cams up. I got to find out if it's legal or not. I've got a new thermal, which I've been looking for a long time. I will present that to you guys in another video. We got a new infrared camera, scope that we just got that records video, and that's 4K. So that's awesome. It's much clearer than anything we have now. So we'll be able to see into the woods a lot clearer than we have been. Bigfoot hiding behind a tree or whatever, it's going to make it harder for them. And then, of course, we got our low light camera that has always been good. And I will be mounting more IR light on that so we can clearly see what's really going on out there. So whatever Bigfoot is, it's still out there. And next year we'll keep looking. My name is Matt Harvey, and this is Deep Woods Paranormal. We're in the Deep Woods Paranormal Podcast, and we are making the paranormal normal. We will catch you guys next year.